Hey everybody, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. This is my orchid grow tent in my apartment, and just want to take you on a quick look around. Mostly to show you what things are in bud or in bloom, things that will be blooming soon. Let's start here. Look at these catasetums. This Ignotus Wine Delight. It's got two nice spikes growing out. One on the left growing towards the grow light, one on the right growing towards the window. Hopefully it will not run into that next plant there and mess up the flowers, but that is going to be super nice. I am watering all of these guys. They're not getting as much fertilizer, but they're certainly getting plenty of water. Phalaenopsis schilleriana here. I repotted it this week, completely took it out of the pot, got rid of lots of rotten roots. The plant has got little pink spots starting to develop on the leaves. Just starting to show up, and those pink spots are not a good thing. They typically start out as pink spots, but then they kind of erupt on the surface and result in a heavily damaged leaf. I think it's a result of a fungus and fungal infection like Fusarium. I soaked this whole plant in maximum strength solution of Phyton 27 for about 10 minutes, roots and all. So I don't have any other fungicides. I've had one called Clearies recommended to me. I don't have it, but I don't know, I might have to invest. Hate to lose this plant. Really like it, and it's just now getting some size on it. Right here in the foreground we have Cattleya walkeriana completing 2 new growths. And we are going to be watching very carefully to see if this plant decides to bloom for us in the next few months. And right down from here we have a lovely Cattleya rex. This was the very first one to bloom. Got some nice big leaves on it, but I wanted you to look at the roots. Really loving that granite and the humidity and warmth in the greenhouse. In fact, the roots of many of the plants seem to be doing even better in the grow tent. Did I say greenhouse? Than they were in the greenhouse. For example, in the greenhouse I never had them reaching this far outside the pot. They usually would dry up once they got to the edge of the pot, but now they're really reaching, which is great. This is Cattleya Jose Marti. Several new growths coming on this. My Dendrobium Country Girl is ready for a change. Fall means changing condition for these nobile type dendrobiums. I've been putting it in the window at night. It's very cold at night. Well, not cold, but it's chilly, like 6 degrees C, 40s in the 40s Fahrenheit. But recently in Colorado we've been having terrible wildfires, and you can see the little white flecks on the leaves are actually ashes that have blown in from outside. I found my windowsill and my plant covered in ash this morning, so I'm going to have to wait until the wind changes direction before I can put it back on the windowsill again. Over here we have our good friend Hal, Bulbophyllum Lovely, nicely blooming. Got a bud up there on the left. Just finished that flower on the right. Here we can see Cattleya maxima, Corulia type, looking really lovely. And in front of that is RLC Jessie Lee. I'm going to come around to the other side and show you what's going on with Jessie Lee. Here she is. So Jessie Lee's got 2 sheaths. This one really full. Those buds are going to be pushing out soon. It's got another sheath on this side. and it's just starting to push out buds. It looks like they're just at the very bottom. It also has two really nice new growths coming up, and those will probably bloom in the spring. But it'll be nice to have two sets of flowers coming out this fall. Next to that, we have my big basket of bulbophyllums. There are 4 different bulbophyllum species in here. It was getting a little bit more light on the other side of the tent, but I'm moving things around. If you guys have big collections, you know, sometimes you just move things around trying to find the best place for each plant. These can take a little less light. So, let's see. Over here in the corner, actually, is a tiny, unassuming little species, Bulbophyllum catenulatum. And upon kind of inspecting it earlier, you see those little thread-like things coming up? Those are actually spikes. There's one right here. Probably killed it now, just touched it. But there's several coming up. I'm really excited about those. Hopefully they'll continue to grow and develop. And then something else about Lovely Elizabeth that I'm watching very carefully is this. Oops. This is potentially a spike. And it'll be about a week or two before we can tell if it is a spike or not. But this is the time of year for them to spike. And I'm seeing similar little things poking out of a couple of other bulbs. So it would make sense. This plant hasn't actually bloomed in 3 years. And I always attributed it to, in the greenhouse, the plants were fertilized so heavily that normally the primary species in this hybrid, which is Bulbophyllum schilleriana, it gets a 5-month dry season in its habitat. So this plant is 75% Bulbophyllum schilleriana, so it would make sense that it would need some kind of a rest period. And it really hasn't gotten that in the greenhouse the past few years, so I'm hoping that my reduced fertilize regime, my reduced watering, and just overall different culture. I've had this plant home for a couple, maybe 3 months now, so I'm hoping that that changing culture is going to result in the plant resuming its blooming habit. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Right next to it is one of its cousins. This is Bulbophyllum medusae. I've had this plant longer than almost any other plant in my collection. This is the 3rd orchid I ever bought here in the United States. And it's got lots of spikes poking out. They're kind of hard to see, but they're down there at the base of the bulbs. They're pointy things. And almost all of the new growths this year have them. So that will be really exciting to see those start elongating and pushing out. Again, in previous years, the greenhouse got pretty chilly where this was growing the past 3 years, and I didn't really get great bloomings. So I'm hoping that with the warmth of this tent and reduced fertilizer, more of a dry season, maybe we'll see some nice blooms on this. And then our final plant that looks like it's going to bloom soon is this, my champion Paf, tough as nails. It's survived several years with me, 5 years I think, and it's got a spike coming in now. Looks great. I'm not sure how many flowers to expect, but when it's doing really well it puts out 3. I don't know if it'll put out 3 this year, maybe only 2. I love that. I'd love for one day it to put out 4 on one spike. That would be wonderful. That might actually elevate it to an FCC status, but who knows. But that's all I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for tuning into My Green Pets, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.